magic, Black authors, and Black fantasy. So here's the start of my new series on books that feature magic with Black characters and how those magical systems are used. So first up, of course, my most recent favorite book, Legendborn series. Now, the Legendborn series uses the myth of the story of King Arthur and the Round Table as the basis for its magical system and plot. The leading group in this, the Order or the Order of the Round Table, has their own system in place and rules on how magic can and should be used. Now we know in the series that Merlin and Arthur devised a spell that would tie the knights, along with Merlin and Arthur, to their future bloodlines in order to defeat any darkness that should come back because they feared that the world would fall into chaos if the table were to fall. So they crafted the spell of eternity. Now, like I said, these spirits are bound to their bloodline and future heirs. And it's not that the knights themselves live forever, but the heir or the scion at the moment would basically become possessed or inhabited by the spirit of whichever knight that was in their bloodline. Now, while the bloodline is quote unquote possessed by the former knights, you have the Merlins who are able to use magic. Now, the Merlins use magic in order to defend the order, and you have the mage guards and the king's mages, and those are the two different types of Merlins that exist within the Legendborn universe. Now, the King's Mage is the top Merlin, the most powerful one, and is there to protect the scion of Arthur. So we could almost think of him, I don't know if it's explicitly stated or not, if it's the spirit of Merlin himself, but considered basically somewhat similar to that. Now, the Mage Guard are the elite force of Merlins. Think of them kind of like the Black Ops military unit type of Merlins around. They consist of 24 of the strongest Merlins around and basically protect against the Shadowborns that exist within the world. So now that I kind of got the order out of the way, let's talk about the kind of magic they use. Their magic is called ether. Now, the laws of ether state that it cannot be created or destroyed, only infused in the body and manipulated as such. And it's important to note that this can only be placed into an object and manipulated temporarily. Now, rule number 2 states that the dead have the most access to the use of ether, with supernatural creatures being second on that list. The living have to borrow, bargain, and sometimes steal to get the use of ether, which is an underlying part of the plot as to how the ether is used by the Knight's Table, or by the Order, excuse me. Now, Mage Flame is ether in its solid state, and Legendborn, who are the highest ranking members in the order, either scions or squires, cannot wield ether in its Mage Flame state. But awakened scions and Merlins can wield ether in any state. We know that there are 3 types of magic used in this series: ether, which is used by the Order; spirit; and root, which is practiced by the Black characters in the story; and rootcraft, which is used by the Black characters in the book. Now, rootcraft is passed down from mother to daughter, and throughout the centuries, rootcraft workers have been hunted by the people of the Order. And if you don't know what the Order is, go back to the previous video where you can learn a little bit about the Order and their magical practice. Now, unlike the Order, who binds magic to bloodlines to keep it flowing in one continuous state, root crafters borrow root from the earth and they give it back because they don't believe that it is something that people should own. This is a more balanced form of magic, and they give offerings to their ancestors so that they are able to share this root with them for a specific amount of time. Now, there are 6 different types of rootcraft: wildcraft, medium, prophet, healer, reader, and memory walker. Wildcrafters manipulate the energy in plants, trees, and herbs. Readers can see people's auras, which allows them to read emotions, intentions, and see their own magical abilities. A medium can obviously channel the dead, while a memory walker is able to astral project to a certain place and time, and they have the limited ability to interact within that space during that time period. And they have this connection by accessing the memories of their ancestors. Healers can heal themselves and others, while prophets use their root in order to see the future. Now, we know that root crafters only borrow for a short amount of time, while the order takes the ether and binds it to their bloodline. This is actually called bloodcraft, which is something that we come to find out is highly forbidden in the root craft world. Now, root crafters consider that all magic must be used in balance because it does require some type of payment. The order, on the other hand, doesn't really see it that way, which is why their members must face abatement. Abatement is simply payment for that magical use, which ends up basically meaning that your life expectancy is cut in half, considerably cut in half. So, usually by the age of 30, the ones who are scions, the awakened scions, after they've served their term, usually find themselves slowly unaliving. So the cost of gaining these superhuman abilities from the order means that usually by the age of 35, you are no longer here. So you can tell that by the use of these abilities, blood crafters, aka the order, are extremely powerful, more powerful than the root crafters. But the cost of that power does come with an early unalive. And then finally, there is another group of people, the rogue magical workers, who are also hunted by the order for their use of ether. This group includes warlocks, sorcerers, and witches. The warlocks are humans who make deals with demons. This is either by selling some parts of their life, maybe the last few years of their life, their firstborn, or something along that line, something of value to the demon in exchange for some of the demon's abilities. And in the story, I believe it is a politician or somebody, I believe he's a politician, who instantly regrets or comes to regret selling his soul to this demon for some powers and tries to exchange it back, but find out that it doesn't really work that way as far as the demons are concerned. So that's the basic overview of how these magical systems are used in the book. Let me know what you think in the comments.